Welcome on into the All Aussie Rules Football Podcast. Got another episode coming your way today. It's episode number 65 of season 2025. It's AFLW episode of the week. It's round 3 review and round 4 preview episode. Got a lot of stuff coming your way today. All AFLW today. If you're new around here, we do 2 podcast episodes every single week. One is on the men's competition, which comes out every Monday. And then this one is our AFLW episode that comes out every Thursday. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, whichever platform you are on right now. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to leave a comment. And other than that, we're going to jump into it. There's obviously 9 games to review from last weekend, and there's also 9 games to preview for the upcoming round of football. So plenty to get through. Let's jump into it. We'll start with how the round started last week, and it was the Richmond-Essendon game. This was up in Darwin, obviously the Indigenous game. Dreamtime up in Darwin, and an interesting game. There's no 2 ways to say. Richmond hadn't won a game. Bombers hadn't lost a game. So plenty to play for both teams. And it pretty much went, I guess, kind of the way that the season had been going so far, with the Bombers getting the job done. I won't say super convincingly. They were probably the better team on the day. Team rating suggests otherwise. I don't think they were ever really in too much doubt of winning this game. I could be wrong. Depends what you think, I guess. It was a good performance from a better performance from Richmond than we'd probably seen from their first 2 games of the season. Yeah, that's about it, really. 3 goals 10 for Richmond is what probably cost them dearly here. I mean, Bombers weren't great in front of goal, 6 goals 7, but better than Richmond were. It was pretty close most of the way. I think the biggest lead was, around about the final margin, really, 15 points. It hit that mark a couple times throughout the day. And Tigers never managed to break that and get back in front after being level at the start of the game, obviously. So it was, I think overall Essendon probably were the better team on the day, even though the All Aussie Rules team rating suggests that the Tigers were better. It was certainly the Tigers' best game that they've played this season, and a little bit of a positive sign going forward for them. Looking at some of the key team stats in this game, the Tigers actually had more of the ball. They had 11 extra inside 50s, but they just couldn't convert it into genuine opportunities often enough, I don't think. Clearance game was pretty level, +3 in favour of the Bombers here. Contested footy went the way of the Tigers. Turnover game, somehow Richmond won that area of the game, +8 in the intercept game. So really good performance in that regard from the Tigers. As we said, poor kicking in front of goal probably hurt their chances quite a bit in this one. No 2 ways about it. Poor kicking in front of goal is poor football. We've been saying it all season long from both the men's and women's game. You miss your opportunities, it will regularly bite you. It's just the way it is. League best and fairest votes. Highest ranked player on the ground was Georgia Nanscowen, and we're giving the 3 votes to Georgia. 2 votes to Mon Conti, who continues to be Richmond's best player, 30 touches and 5 clearances. And Madison Prespakis gets the 1 vote from us, 24 touches. Ellie McKenzie played a really good game with 26 touches, is in that contention. I don't know who else would be in contention, really. I think they were probably the standout 4 players in terms of what the umpires will see. 2 multiple goal kickers, both for the Bombers. Georgia Gee got 2, and Sophie Alexander kicked 2 as well after kicking the Bombers game winner last week. Kicked another 2 this week. Other than that, MVP votes, if you're new around here, for both the men's and women's competition. We do a little MVP voting system where top 5 players in the All Aussie Rules rating system for each team get votes. Obviously, the winning team get more votes. They get the 10, 8, 6, 4, and 2 for the top 5 players, whereas the losing team gets half of that. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think pretty self-explanatory, but yeah, that's how it is. So for the winning team, Georgia Scarwin, as we said, was the highest rated player on the ground. I think fifth highest rated player for the round in the AFLW for week round 3. Good game, 27 touches, 4 clearances, 12 tackles. Really, really good game. Amy Gaylor was the second highest rated for the Dons, 18 touches in this one. Then it was Madison Prespakis for 24 disposals, 3 clearances. Elise Gamble gets the 4 votes for the performance that she had in this one, and 2 votes goes to Georgia Gee. Georgia G? Gee. You know, yeah. Good performance with 2 goals there. For the Tigers, as we said, Monconti was their highest rated player. So picks up the 5 votes. That's all 3 rounds so far this season. Monconti has polled MVP votes and also league best and fairest votes. You know what you're going to get out of Monconti, and you just consistently get it week in, week out. 12th highest rated player for the round was Monconti. Worth noting also, Georgia Nanscarwin was actually 3rd highest rated player for the round, just behind Ash Riddell and Matilda Scholes. Next up, we should continue with the MVP votes. 4 goes to Sierra Greaves, 18 touches in this one. 3 to Poppy Kelly. 2 goes to Georgia Seymour, and 1 goes to Laura McLennan. That's how the top 5 for the Richmond in terms of All Aussie Rules ratings went, and that's how that game went. Bombers get the win. Huge, huge start to their season, 3-0. If they can keep that up, they are going to be very happy with what they do, because last year they finished in that 5 to 8 bracket, got eliminated in an elimination final. It's not going to be easy to get into the top 4, but these early wins will certainly give them a chance if they can continue to play some good football. Moving on to game number 2 of the weekend. It was Saturday afternoon. It was GWS v Adelaide. Adelaide had got back into form in round 2 after a slow start to the season with a loss in round 1. They took care of GWS throughout this game. Both teams kicked poorly in front of goal. 2-10 for Giants, 7-12 for the Crows. But it was a game that was well and truly controlled by Adelaide. They certainly weren't as impressive as they were last season throughout most of the year, but they got the job done. 4-7 they kicked in the first quarter. After that, it probably wasn't that much of a difference between the two teams. Adelaide kicked 3-5 after quarter time to 2-9 for the Giants. So after quarter time, it stayed pretty level. But the damage was done in that first quarter, 4-7 to 0-1. Yeah, team rating suggests Adelaide were the better team. They weren't fantastic, but they got the job done. Team stats in this one, important numbers, I guess. Both teams had similar disposals. Adelaide had the extra 12 inside 50s for the game. They dominated clearances, plus 14, 31-17. 9-3 in centre clearances, so dominated that area. Dominated contested football, whereas GWS held that uncontested football really well throughout the game. Turnover numbers were pretty similar for both teams. Nothing outrageous either way. In the end, plus 8 tackles for the Crows. So I think Adelaide, as were probably expected to be, were the better team on the day. It wasn't the most impressive win of all time, but they got the job done. Only one multiple goal kicker in this one, and it was Caitlin Gould for Adelaide. League best and fairest votes, according to us, is Anne Hatchard with 3, Niam Kelly with 2, and Zali Goldsworthy for the Giants getting 1 vote. MVP-wise, in terms of best players highest rated players in the All Aussie Rules rating system. No real surprise. Ebony Marinoff gets the 10 for this one. Wasn't the best game Ebony Marinoff has ever played. Not even close. But was still good enough to be the highest rated player on the ground. In this one, had 17 disposals, 13 tackles, a couple clearances, goal assist. So not the big disposal numbers, but still massive tackle numbers as per usual. Niam Kelly gets the 4 votes, 16 touches and a goal with 7 tackles. 6 votes goes to Chelsea Biddle for 17 disposals, 2 clearances, goal assist. 4 to Anne Hatchard, 25 disposals and a goal. And Caitlin Gould kicked those 2 goals that we said, gets 2. For the losing team, the GWS Giants. Cambridge McCormick gets the 5 votes, 21 disposals with 9 tackles. Catherine Smith gets the 4 for 14 disposals. 3 goes to Georgia Garnett, 15 disposals and a goal. Madison Brazendale, I almost made an absolute meal of her name, sorry, Madison. 20 disposals in this one, gets 2 votes. And Rebecca Beeson gets the 1 vote for 21 disposals and a clearance in this game. Solid output. Adelaide just too good in the end. Giants, they're not expected to do too much, I don't think, this season. They don't look like the worst team in the competition right now, but they're certainly probably going to be in contention for those bottom few spots, you'd think, based on what we've seen from the first 3 rounds of the season so far. Moving on to the next game, it was St Kilda West Coast in Melbourne at RSEA Park, and this is probably, arguably, the first upset of the round. I don't know if they were massive favourites, but I mean, St Kilda were definitely favourites. They beat Adelaide round 1, but this was a disappointing result for them. 4-4, 28, 6-6, 42 for the Eagles. They're pushing. The Eagles could be a team that are pushing towards finals in season 2025. They've had a really good start. This was a weird sort of game, though. St Kilda kind of dominated throughout, at least the scoreboard pressure throughout the first 3 quarters. They were up 27-10 at 3-quarter time. But the Eagles came home with a flurry, kicking 5 goals, 2-0-1 in the final quarter. Absolute onslaught in that final quarter just put to bed the Saints. They kicked 1 goal in the first 3 quarters, the Eagles, 5 in the last. That's crazy. And, I mean, it was led by their best player, Ella Roberts, kicked 2 goals in that last quarter. They just did what they needed to when they needed to, the Eagles, and they get the 4 points. Crazy win, crazy good result for the Eagles. Massive win. The team ratings suggest that they were the better team. A lot of that probably was done in that last quarter where they really dominated the match. They did have a lot more of the ball, plus 40 disposals, plus 14 inside 50s in this game. St Kilda were good in the clearance game, but outside of that, it was pretty much Eagles. Uncontested and contested football, both the way of West Coast. The turnover game, the numbers for St Kilda were not great again in this game. They've been pretty high on turnover numbers all 3 weeks so far. So that's an area of their game they need to kind of tidy up a little bit, is looking after the football a bit better. High tackle game, 92, St Kilda 66 for the Eagles. But West Coast just ran over the top of them in the end. Our league best and fairest votes, no surprise here. 3 to Ella Roberts, 2 goals in that last quarter. 23 disposals, 7 tackles, really good game. 2 goes to Tiana Smith from St Kilda, 20 disposals, 6 clearances. And 1 vote to Jade Britton from the Eagles, 21 disposals, 6 tackles in this game. MVP-wise, 10 votes, Ella Roberts was the highest rated Eagle. I won't say super comfortably, but by quite a while. 5th highest rated player of the AFLW round 3. Really good performance there by Ella. 8 votes goes to Jade Britton. As we said, she got 1 league best and fairest vote as well. Lucia Painter continued her great start to the career in AFLW. Had obviously the 3-goal quarter in round 1. Finished this game with 15 touches and a goal, 4 clearances. Really good performance. Charlotte Thomas, really good throughout this game, 11 touches and a goal. And 2 votes to Abigail Bushby for 15 touches. For the losing team, the highest rated player was Jamie Lambert with 19 disposals, 12 tackles, 5 clearances, and 5 votes. Tiana Smith gets the 4 for 20 disposals, 6 clearances. Janobi Anderson continued her good season so far, 14 disposals, 2 goals, and a clearance. Paige Trudgian gets the 2 votes, and 1 vote goes to Rebecca Ott for the ruck work. 14 disposals, 8 hit-outs, and a clearance. That's this game. St Kilda might be in some trouble. 1 and 2 after starting really positively against Adelaide, their season slowly slipping away. I mean, it's not the end of the world. They're only 3 games in. There's still 9 to go. They're probably going to have to win at least 5, maybe 6 of them to play finals, though. So the pressure's on. This is the sort of game that they needed to win if finals were a chance. And the same can be said for the Eagles, which the Eagles won this. So keep them in mind. They could be a team that continue to rise up the ladder this year. They showed some really positive signs last year. And so far this year, they're showing those sort of improvements again. So that's a really good positive, I think, for the Eagles. I mean, it helps when you have a player like Ella Roberts on your team. Let's be serious. Moving on to the next game, it was a big one. For many reasons. Geelong, who many people considered a pretty good team coming into this season. I mean, I still would consider them a pretty good team. But they hadn't won a game, and that has continued. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fence, Sydney, after a rough season with injuries last year, have come out of the blocks absolutely flying. And they continue to be undefeated, which is crazy. Well, not that crazy, but they're playing some really good football. And they win at GMHBA Stadium in a nail-biter. 6-9-45 for the Cats, 7-8-50 for the Swans. 5-point win. Geelong came out of the blocks flying, kicked the first 3 of the game and looked like they were going to put this one to bed early. But the Swans fought back after quarter time. They kicked the only 4 goals of the second quarter to give the Swannies a lead going into half-time. Cats got the lead early back again in the third quarter before it was a bit of back and forward. And then when Chloe Malloy kicked the first of the last quarter, it gave Sydney that little break of more than 2 goals. Geelong then wasted some opportunities. I think they kicked 1 goal, 4 or 5 in the last 5 or so minutes of this match, which has ended up meaning that they lose by a couple points, 5 points in fact. So a little bit disappointing for the Cats, whose season continues to struggle to get going. Meanwhile, the Swans are absolutely flying and certainly putting a stamp on their top 4 chances early on in the season. Team rating, Sydney did rate in the All Aussie Rules rating system slightly ahead of Geelong. They had an extra 30 touches. Inside 50s was actually +2 for Geelong. But they didn't make use of it. Dominated clearances did the Cats +8. All of that centre clearance work. Contested footy was pretty similar. Uncontested was dominated by Sydney. Turnover numbers, both teams pretty similar to their average and not too bad in terms of overall numbers. Tackle game, not massive numbers, but solid enough from both teams. League best and fairest votes in this one. We're gone Sophia Hurley for 3 votes, 27 touches and a goal. Aisling Maloney gets the 2 for them. The Cats, the thing that was confusing me, I didn't put their full first names in the graphic, but that's okay. Aisling had 3 goals, 23 disposals. And Georgia Prespakis had 27 touches, 11 clearances. Yes, you heard that correctly. 11 clearances and 2 goal assists in this game. Gets the 1 vote from us. Only multiple goal scorer in the game was Aisling Maloney with 3 from 23 disposals. Really good performance there, but not enough to get the Cats over the line. Looking at MVP votes for the winning team, Chloe Malloy gets the 10. 24 touches and a goal, has had an absolutely outstanding return from injury to start this season. At the moment is right up there in the MVP voting and the league best and fairest voting after 3 rounds. Sophia Hurley gets the 8 votes in this one. Next up is Jazz Grierson, 6 votes in this one, 13 touches and a goal. Tanya Kennedy gets the 4, 16 touches and a goal. And Laura Gardner, 24 touches. I mean, when Laura Gardner's your 5th best player and you're winning games of football, life's obviously going pretty good. For the losing team, Geelong, Nina Morrison was the highest rated player, 17 touches, a goal, 10 tackles. Aisling Maloney for those 3 goals and 23 touches gets the 4 votes. Georgia Prospakis gets the 3. Julia Crockett-Grills gets the 2 votes. And Michaela Bowen gets 1 vote in this one for the Cats. Sydney Flying basically is the long and the short of it, and all of a sudden Geelong's season is looking like it's getting into a bit of a troubled territory, a bit like their season started last year, where they fell behind the 8 ball by a bit too much and couldn't make it up. They have had a really tough run of opponents, to be fair, this year, and they've been in all 3 games, certainly up to 3/4 time, this one all the way to the end. But they need to start winning games is pretty much the long and the short of their story so far this year. They need to start winning, and they need to start winning soon. Next up, we've got Port Adelaide Gold Coast. This was at Alberton Oval in Adelaide, and what a performance it was by Port Adelaide. They'd had a bit of a slow start to the year, a couple disappointing results to start the season. Gold Coast, I think at the moment it looks very much like they are probably going to be your wooden spoon team. They look like they're a little bit off the pace of most other teams. And they just couldn't go with Port Adelaide here. Certainly defensively. Offensively, at times, Gold Coast looked okay, but overall, it was just a one-way show. All Port Adelaide's way, and some big numbers from some good players for Port Adelaide who have bounced themselves into form both individually and as a team, which is good news for the Power, maybe not so good news for other teams. Team rating has Port Adelaide absolutely miles in front of Gold Coast in this one. Team stats-wise, plus 30 on disposals, plus 9 inside 50s, so not massive numbers there in terms of differences. Clearances were absolutely dominated by Port, as was contested football, uncontested football. Turnover numbers were actually dead level, both very low compared to their averages. It was, one-way traffic. Too many injuries in this game and this season for Gold Coast. They certainly lost a little bit of ability in this game throughout from the start, basically, if we're being completely honest. It was Gervin got concussed early. Charlotte Wilson only played 3% game time. And then Charlie Rowbottom also had some time off with an AC joint and is, I believe, missing the next couple games. So also a bad blow for them. League best and fairest votes, I think it's obvious who has to get the 3 here, and that's Matilda Schultz. Was clearly the number 1 rated player in the AFLW this week. All Aussie rules rating of a 172.5. Next best was Ash Riddell with a 164.4. So a bit of a gap there. And that's 22 disposals, 4 goals, 16 hit-outs, 7 clearances, 710 metres gained. Absolute domination. That's the sort of stuff that we saw in spurts last year and we were waiting for this year. We hadn't seen it in the first 2 weeks, but Matilda absolutely burst onto the park in this one and dominated. Gemma Houghton could have dominated, gets the 2 votes, had 15 touches, 4 goals, 5. Could have had a massive day, missed a few opportunities. And Abby Dowrick, we've given the 1 vote to. There's a whole range of probably 10 players from Port Adelaide that could get that last spot in the votes, but I've gone Abby Dowrick, 21 touches, 5 clearances, couple behinds. MVP votes, no doubt about it, Matilda Schultz. We'll keep talking about it because it was absolutely outstanding performance. Gemma Houghton, 8 votes in this one. Good game. Sashi Syme gets the 6 votes, 21 touches in this. Indy Tahu has played a really good start to the season, and this was no different. 13 touches, 3 goals, 2. And Shania Goody played a probably best game of her season so far. 19 touches and a goal, 5 clearances. For the losing team, Gold Coast, they were just outmatched, and that's basically the long and the short of it. Lucy Single gets the 5 votes, 19 touches, 12 tackles. McLaughlin gets the 4 votes, 28 touches, 4 clearances. Havana Harris has started really well, played really well week 1, really good in round 3 as well here. 17 touches and a goal, I believe was the Rising Star nomination for the week as well, so well done Havana. 2 goes to Charlie Rowbottom, as we said, spent some time off injured, done AC joints, so we'll miss some game time over the next few weeks, miss some game time here. Still was good enough to have 24 touches, 4 clearances, gets 2 votes. And the 1 vote goes to Clara Fitzpatrick in this game. And that wraps up the Gold Coast Suns and Port Adelaide. I was going to say GWS. That's who they play this week. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it, really. Port Adelaide, really good bounce back into form. To get their season rolling after a slow start to the year, Gold Coast, they've got a lot of work to do to catch up to the rest of the pack, in my opinion. So that's probably their issue at the minute. Moving on to the Saturday night game, it was a low-scoring affair, but it was still entertaining. Bulldogs v Hawthorn at Whitten Oval. It was a game where the Doggies looked really, really good in that first quarter. They kicked the only scores in the first quarter. They were up 7-0 at quarter time and looked really good. Wasted opportunities, had a lot of inside 50s. Second quarter, Hawthorn came out and managed to kick 2 goals. Against the flow a little bit of the game, they certainly did get a little bit more momentum in that second quarter without being great. And then after that, it was the 8-minute mark of the second quarter that Hawthorn kicked their second goal. There was not another goal kicked in the game. There was no score in the final quarter. It was a weird sort of game. But Bulldogs will be probably kicking themselves at the fact that they didn't convert more opportunities than they did. Team rating has Hawthorn slightly ahead. I think that's fair. Both teams pretty similarly rated in this game. Hawthorn obviously last year were the much higher rated team. Bulldogs finished quite low. I think Bulldogs have been a really good improver so far this year. They've shown some really good signs, but that's probably why this game will hurt them a little bit more, because they were genuinely in with a chance. Hawthorn, they finished second on the ladder last year for a reason. This season, they keep winning. They do keep winning. They don't look overly impressive in any of their games, if we're being completely honest. But at the same time, wins are wins. Like, they're 3-0 for the season. They've won all of them by just within 8 points. 2 first and third game they've won by 4 points, and then week 2 they won by 8 points. No, they won by 8 points. Sorry. So 3 games and they've had a total margin of 16 points and won all of them. So they're getting the job done in tight affairs. They're not looking super impressive, but at the end of the day, you just got to win, and maybe their season starts to get a bit easier now. They've got St Kilda this week, a really big chance to go 4-0 and continue that momentum. League best and we haven't done team stats yet for this one. +9 inside 50s for the Dogs. We did say they dominated it early. They held on to that domination throughout most of the game, and they'll be kicking themselves. +20 disposals for the Dogs. They also had 9 extra clearances. So it was a really good performance from the Doggies. They dominated contested football. They did what they needed to around the ground. They just need to get that finishing. They had a really good win against Richmond last week. If they had to back that up with a win against Hawthorn here, their season would have been rolling, and all of a sudden, the conversations would be a lot different going into this weekend. But I think, as a viewer and neutral supporter in this game, I was most impressed with the Doggies. In my opinion, they were really good. League best and fairest votes, 3 to Isabel Pritchard from us. A really good performance again. 2 weeks in a row, 29 touches in this one, 7 clearances, playing some really good football. Tilly Lucas Rod has been outstanding for Hawthorn this season. Probably their most important player across the 3 weeks so far. 23 touches, cleaning it up around the back line, always using the ball really well as well. And 1 vote, goes to El Bennett's from the Bulldogs. 23 touches in this one. MVP votes, highest rated player from Hawthorn was Jenna Richardson with 16 touches, 5 tackles. Tilly Lucas Rod with 23 touches gets the 8. Tamara Smith gets 6 votes for 15 touches, 7 tackles. Lucy Wales in the ruck gets the 4 votes, 17 hitouts with 15 disposals. And Laura Stone will get your 2 votes here, 14 touches and 1 clearance. For the Bulldogs, the losing team, it goes Elle Bennett's for 23 touches, gets 5. Jessica Fitzgerald gets the 4. Isabel Pritchard gets 3. Elizabeth Georgigathis gets 2 votes, and Riley Wilcox has had a really good start to the year. I think has been in the MVP votes, so top 5 players for the Bulldogs each of the 3 weeks so far. Just scrapes in here, 16 touches and a goal, 1 vote. Big game, big important result for the Hawks. The Dogs, they're showing some positive signs. I'm not confident they'll play finals this year. I still don't think they will, but they're trending in the right direction, in my opinion. Moving on to Sunday games of football, we start with Collingwood, Melbourne. It was at Victoria Park, and Melbourne had been dominating this season. Collingwood were coming off a win against GWS, a low-ranked team, and Melbourne were expected to win this one comfortably, but boy oh boy did the Pies put up a fight. So it was some bad kicking at goal from both teams, 4-9 Collingwood, 5-7 Melbourne. But Melbourne just held on. It was a funny old game. Melbourne kicked a couple early, looked in control, wasted opportunities from both teams, as we said. Collingwood got their first goal late in the second quarter. They then kicked the first in the third quarter to give them a lead before Melbourne kicked a couple quick ones. Kate Hoare stepped up, as always, and got them in front. Collingwood fought their way back to level with about 6-7 minutes to go. Then Kate Hoare did it again, kicked a goal from the goal square, with only a few minutes to go. And it looked like Melbourne were going to hold on at this point. And then last minute, Collingwood had 2 set shots at goal. Imogen Barnett missed first, and then from the kick out, Collingwood get a free kick, and Grace Campbell had a shot from the pocket after the siren to give Collingwood the win, but missed, hit the post, and Melbourne held on for a big win for them. Keeps their season rolling undefeated. They're looking, while this wasn't a great performance, they still get the 4 points, and that's probably the most important thing for them out of this game. Collingwood, I think they're looking a lot better than they did last year. They've still got a fair way to go, but this was certainly a much more improved performance from them. Team ratings suggest the same. Melbourne slightly better, but a really, really good team performance from Collingwood. Gave them at least a chance to win it. They actually had more disposals. They had 9 extra inside 50s than Melbourne. They stopped Melbourne's run and carry, I think, was the big thing here. They didn't allow Melbourne to get out into space too often, and that was a massive key factor of this game. It was a high-pressure game, and clearance numbers were level. Contested footy was level, but Collingwood won uncontested football, which is probably not something that too many people expected to happen in this game. most people probably saw this being a Melbourne dominating uncontested football and then dominating the game. But Collingwood just didn't allow that. And credit to them, it nearly worked for them. But in the end, Melbourne held on to the 4-point win. Sorry. B and F votes first. Sorry, Kate Hall, we've gone with 3 votes. In this one, 21 touches, 2 goals. Kate Hall is an absolute master at just getting the job done at important moments. Carly Remos for Collingwood gets the 2 votes, 24 touches and a goal, in what might be her best game for Collingwood. Brittany Benici gets the 1 vote, always racking up disposals, 27 touches, 11 tackles, 6 clearances for Benici. For the winning team, the MVP votes goes to Maeve Chaplin, 22 touches, 12 tackles. 8 votes goes to Tyler Hanks, 25 touches, 9 tackles. Kate Hoare was their 3rd highest rated player with the 21 touches, 2 goals, 6 votes. Eden Zanker could have had a game where she tore it apart. Had 18 touches, had multiple shots at goal, 1 goal, 3 for 4 votes. Paxi Paxman had plenty of it early on the wing, 21 touches in this game, is the 2 vote getter. On the other side of the fence, it goes Ali Runnels in her 3rd game for Collingwood and her best game for Collingwood, maybe even best game of AFLW. 24 touches, could have been the hero in that last quarter, had 2 snaps that both missed that would have put Collingwood in front or tied the game up. So a little bit disappointing, but still rated really highly in this game. 24 touches on the wing. Brittany Benici absolutely dominated again, 27 touches. Tani White was really good in the back line. Basically didn't lose a contest all day and just did what Tani White does best, and that's throw the body around and make sure that the opposition earn their touches. 2 votes to Michaela Khan, 19 touches and a goal, and Carly Ramos, 1 vote, 24 touches and a goal. Melbourne, they get the 4 points. Collingwood showed some positive signs. They would have loved the win, but at the same time, they've still got a little bit of work to do to catch the rest of the pack, I think, but they're certainly trending in the right direction after a really, really tough season last year. Second last game of the round, and boy, oh boy, was this a thrashing. North Melbourne headed over to Fremantle Community Bank Oval and got the job done by 100 points. First ever 100-point win in the AFLW history. Wowee, what to say about the Dockers. I had faith in them going into the season, and after round 1, I felt like I had made a great decision with that. They beat Port Adelaide, but then the next 2 games, they have looked ordinary. And boy, oh boy, did they look ordinary here. I know North Melbourne are a class above probably everyone, but to lose by 100 points is not a great sign for Fremantle in round 3. If we're being honest, it was just a domination. The one sour note for the Kangaroos is obviously Jasmine Garner got injured. I was going to say subbed out, not subbed out, but obviously didn't play after a quarter and a bit into the game. Was absolutely dominating too, again, at that point. So a bit disappointing there for Garner and for Kangaroos. I believe she's out for 2 to 4 weeks. Hopefully that's on the skinnier side. But at the same time, they just have that much talent, especially in that midfield, that it just did not hurt them. Ash Riddell just covers perfectly. They've got Elise Sharon there now as well. So it was just, just a one-way show. Team rating, that's the biggest difference we've had this season. No surprise there. It was a 100-point game. Disposal numbers plus 90 odd, 94 for North Melbourne. They absolutely tore them apart. They just controlled the football. Inside 50s, 46 to 19. That is a massive discrepancy. Clearance numbers actually went the way of Fremantle as well in this game, plus 8. Most of that centre clearances, 13 to 6. But after the centre clearance, it was all North Melbourne, plus 16 inside, plus 16 contested football, sorry, and plus 80 uncontested, and the turnover numbers continue to be a problem for Fremantle. They're averaging 75.3 turnovers per game. That's ridiculously high. They had 77 again here. Kangaroos had 54, which is actually below their average. Minus 23 turnovers is just, you're not going to win a game of football if you have 23 extra turnovers than the opposition. It's just simple math, let's be honest. Controlled the marks, no surprise. They controlled the uncontested football. 18 goals, 6-2-2. It's an absolute flogging. And to have the ball an extra 90 disposals in a game and still have 17 more tackles than the opposition, you got to question what the opposition were doing, because something's going wrong there, in my opinion. League best and fairest votes. Ash Riddell, we've gone 3. So far this season, Ash has gone 2-2-3. Crazy numbers. Amy Smith gets the 2 votes, and Blathine Bogue gets 1 vote from us. Multiple goal kickers, there's a few of them for the Kangaroos. Bogue gets 4, Talia Randall 3, Amy Smith and Alice O'Loughlin both get 2 goals apiece. MVP votes for the Kangaroos. Ash Riddell was their highest rated player, second highest rated player of the round. For the second week in a row was the second highest rated player. Last week it was behind Garner, this week behind Schultz. 40 disposals and a goal after 43 disposals and a goal the week before. Just big numbers from Ash Riddell. 8 tackles as well as 3 clearances. Insane numbers. 8 votes to Bluffin Bog for 15 touches, 4 goals, as well as 3 goal assists. That's insane numbers. Amy Smith gets the 6 votes for 24 touches and 2 goals. Alicia Sharon played best game for the Kangaroos so far, 21 touches and a goal, as well as 3 clearances. Libby Birch gets the 2 votes in this one for the Kangaroos. For the Dockers, 5 goes to their ruckman, who is probably, I think, undoubtedly at the moment the best ruckman in the competition. Schultz is certainly someone that could contribute, could be in that conversation with a bit of consistency, so we'll see how that plays out. But 21 touches, 29 hit-outs, 6 clearances for Mim. Kiara Bowers gets the 4 votes, 17 touches, 6 clearances. Indy Strom gets 3 votes in this one, but that suggests that the other team were dominating them just because Indy is a defender. Gabrielle Newton, 2 votes, 21 touches, 5 clearances, 7 tackles. And Gabby O'Sullivan gets the 1 vote. Fremantle, they need to find some form. It's only 2 losses in a row, but the massive percentage hit this one. They need to find some form. There's no doubt about it. Kangaroos are flying. Garner's obviously out, but for the foreseeable future. But I don't think it's going to hurt the Kangaroos. They just look like they're so far ahead of every other team in the competition right now. And yeah, Sydney and a couple other teams are showing some good signs that they are improving. But at the moment, to me at least, it looks like Kangaroos just have that massive gulf on the rest of the competition. Final game of the round. It was Sunday evening. It was up in Brisbane, and the Lions go down for the second time in 3 weeks, this time to Carlton, who are another team that has shown some really, really good development. They've got some good young players that have come in, and they're starting to play some good football. They led this one for a fair chunk of the game, pretty much all the way, and they get the win. 9-4, 58 to 6-8, 44. I think clearly the best team on the field was the Carlton Blues. They dominated the second quarter, 5 goals to 1, and that was the difference in the end. The Lions came out of half-time, kicked the first 3, and looked like they were going to get back into it, but the Lions steadied and then kicked the first 2 of the last quarter through Tara Bohana. And yeah, Carlton flying, Brisbane showing some little signs that maybe they've dropped off a little bit, which means it's starting to look like a difficult prospect for them to play top four. I still think they're capable, but they need to find that form and consistency, which they just haven't had so far this season. Team rating clearly has Carlton on top in this one. Team stats that were important: Carlton had an extra 50 disposals. Brisbane did have 18 extra inside 50s, but just didn't make use of it. That is a lot of extra inside 50s from a lot less ball use, which make that of what you will. Clearance numbers pretty level. Turnover numbers were quite high for both teams. Both teams above average in terms of turnovers. Mark numbers, not too bad for both teams. Carlton had plus 28, which suggests they controlled the football a little bit better than the Brisbane Lions did. League best and fairest votes, we've gone in this one. Dana Finn gets 3 votes, had 29 touches and a goal as well as 3 clearances. 2 goes to Abby McKay. Sorry. I always get it wrong. 32 touches was outstanding. And Aaron Fitzpatrick, for the second time this year already, kicked multiple goals and had plenty of the football. 18 touches, 2 goals, 8 tackles. Really, really good performance there. MVP votes, highest rated player was Dana Finn, gets the 10. Aroni Fitzpatrick gets the 8. Abby McKay gets the 6. So they are your 3 BNF votes as well. Then the 4 goes to Poppy Schultz, who's had a great start to the year. And 2 to Tara Bohana, who kicked those 2 goals in the last quarter, 3 goals for the match, 15 touches overall. For the Brisbane Lions, it's Ola Dwyer, who gets the highest rated player, 5 votes in this one. Didn't have a lot of it, 9 touches, but did kick a goal and was efficient with the ball use. Jennifer Dunn gets 4 votes. Natalie Grider gets the 3 for 17 disposals. 2 goes to Brianna Cohn, 18 touches and a clearance. And Dakota Davidson gets the 1 vote for 10 touches and a goal as a key forward. Brisbane, they need to get some wins. They need to get some form and consistency. Carlton, they're looking like a team that is worthy of a top 8 spot. There's going to be a lot of teams fighting for a top 8 spot this year by the looks of things. But from what we've seen so far this year, Carlton have improved a lot on their form from last season. We'll quickly go through my tips and then from last week, and then we'll get into this week's round, which will hopefully take about 10 minutes or so. So you're looking at another 15 minutes for this episode. Our tips last week, we got Bombers correct over Richmond. Pretty accurate margin, 3 points off. Same can be said for game 2. We said Adelaide by 28. They won by 32 points. We got St Kilda wrong. We were looking all right at 3/4 time, but West Coast came home with a flurry. We get that one wrong. Sydney won by 5 points. Pretty accurate from us there. Port Adelaide won by a lot more than 16 points. They won by 68 points. Hawthorn did not win by 18 points. They didn't even score 18 points, but they did win by 4 points. Demons only won by 4 as well. Kangaroos won by a lot more than 20, but we get that right. And then we get the last one wrong when Carlton win by 14. That was a bad one, hand up from us. We got that wrong. 7 of 9 for the week, 20 out of 27 for the year. We've gone 6, 7, 7. Let's go better this week. And at the end of this episode, we will have our round 4 tips, so stick around for that. Let's jump into round 4 preview. Alrighty, let's motor through these previews for this weekend. No games on Thursday or Friday for the AFLW as the AFL Men's Finals kicks off this weekend. For the previews of that, go back and check out our podcast episode from Monday, which was episode 64. That was previewing all the AFL Men's action. And also there'll be shorts on the YouTube channel and on TikTok and everything else. So go check all that out. But let's jump into AFLW action for round 4. We start with Melbourne-Richmond. Melbourne are going to start massive favourites in this. They're 3-0. Richmond are 0-3. I think Richmond are better than a normal 0-3 team, but it doesn't get easier for them here. This will be a tough one. Melbourne are playing some good football. They weren't outstanding last week against Collingwood, granted, but I think they should be too good at home at Casey Fields for Richmond here, who they need to find some improvement. Otherwise, this season could get really, really ugly quickly. But at the moment, you'd have to say Melbourne should be winning this one. Next one is the battle of the two teams that haven't won a game and both sitting last and second last. Gold Coast 18th at the moment, GWS 17th. This will be at People First Stadium, and probably, in my opinion, is the battle for the wooden spoon. I know it's only early in the season, but at the moment, Gold Coast certainly look like, in my opinion, the worst team in the competition at the moment, and I think GWS aren't far ahead of them. I would have had it a very close game. I think with Charlie Rowbottom out, though, it's going to be swing even further towards GWS, who have shown slightly better potential so far this year. So I think we're going to tip the Giants in this one, but it could well be the battle for the wooden spoon. Next up at 3:05 at Icon Park, it's going to be Carlton hosting the Doggies. Carlton 2-1, the Doggies 1-2. 7th v 12th on the ladder. Carlton are very short price favourites at the moment. Do not write the Dogs off though. They were good last week against Hawthorn. They were good the week before when they beat Richmond. I know Carlton are playing some good football. They beat Brisbane, they beat Collingwood, and they went really close to Hawthorn, losing by just 8 points. But don't write the Doggies off. That's my words of advice in this one. I think Carlton will be too good based on what we saw last week. Bulldogs need to find ways to score. They just couldn't do that last weekend. But I think this might be a close one. I could be completely wrong. That's at 3:05 on Saturday. There's one Saturday night game this weekend, and it is Hawthorn St Kilda. This will be up in Cairns at Casale's Stadium, and this might be a cracker. It might not be, but we'll see. Hawthorn have played 3 close games so far this year and won all 3 of them. St Kilda started the season fantastic against Adelaide, had a couple stinkers since then. I think they're better than that. Whether that will be good enough to beat Hawthorn, probably not. But the way Hawthorn have played the season so far, you'd suggest it's probably going to be close. Hawthorn will be looking to get that crazy good ball movement that they had through the pre-season going, which they just haven't been able to do yet in a game. So we'll see if that turns for them here. They have a really good chance here to go 4-0 and really stamp their foot in this season. Moving on to Sunday football, there's 5 games on Sunday this weekend. And it kicks off at 1:05 up in Sydney at Henson Park. The Sydney Swans undefeated, third on the ladder against Fremantle, who won week 1 and then have got smacked since then. They're 14th on the ladder. Their percentages are really quite poor, and they need a win. And this is not an easy one. Chloe Malloy and the Sydney Swans just looking absolutely perfect at the moment. Probably, arguably, looking the second best team in the competition. Maybe it's them and Melbourne probably looking at that second best team in the comp behind the Kangaroos so far this year. They've been really good, and I'd be very, very surprised to see Fremantle be able to turn it around from losing by 100 points to the Kangaroos last week to beating Sydney in Sydney. I just don't see it happening. It could. I just don't think it will. Moving on to the next game, we head over to Adelaide. Same time kickoff, Norwood Oval. Adelaide, Brisbane, 2 teams that were in the Final 4 last year, both prelim final teams. One of them obviously made it to the grand final in Brisbane. Both look to have dropped off a little bit from that form of last year or the last couple years. Looks as if a few teams have caught them and maybe passed them. This is a huge game. Adelaide win this. They're still in that hunt as definite top 4 chance. If they lose, they've got a bit of work to do. If Brisbane lose this, they're falling well behind at 1-3 after 4 rounds, and they'll have a lot of work to do to catch back up. If they win this, though, they're right back in the hunt. There's no doubt about it. So, big game for both teams. I think Adelaide at home probably too good, but I wouldn't be too convinced of that. Heading to Arden Street Oval for the Sunday afternoon 3:05 kickoff. North Melbourne hosting Collingwood. Last year's premiership team against last year's Wooden Spooners. Um, it's impossible to tip anyone but North Melbourne right now. They're coming off a 100-point win against Fremantle, who most people would have expected are a much better team than Collingwood going into this season. Collingwood did play well against Melbourne last week. They're going to have their work cut out for them here. I can't see a world where they do too well in this. I'm not completely writing them off, but I just don't see a world where they're fully competitive. Good luck to them. But the Kangaroos, you'd have to imagine, are just too good in this, even without Jazzy Garner out there. Same time, around the corner, a few corners to be fair, but Windy Hill is Essendon hosting Geelong. Somehow this is 4th on the ladder Essendon against 16th on the ladder Geelong. This is a big game. Essendon undefeated, a chance to go 4-0 and really, really start their season perfectly. A loss wouldn't kill them, no doubt about it, but a win would be huge. Other side of the fence, a loss for Geelong would be pretty much, I won't say season over, but they'll have a long way to come back from. If they're 0-4, that is disaster. 1-3, it's not great, but it's manageable and it's progressing. They haven't been bad this season. They've been in every single game, in my opinion. They need to find a way to win this. It's not going to be easy because Bombers are playing good football, but they need to find a way to win this, the Cats. And the final game of the round, it is your Sunday evening game. This will be at 5:05 Australian Eastern Time, so actually 3:05 Western Australian Time. West Coast Port Adelaide Mineral Resources Park. This is actually shaping up like a really good game of football. There's a few good ones on this weekend, and this is certainly one of them. It's the Eagles, Port Adelaide, both coming off a win last week, both getting their season shaping all right. West Coast obviously 2-1, Port Adelaide 1-2. Port Adelaide absolutely dominated Gold Coast last week. West Coast beat Gold Coast in week 1, so both teams have beat Gold Coast. Port Adelaide probably did it a little bit more convincingly. But West Coast overall this season have been good. They've shown some really good signs. I think Port Adelaide's best is probably better than West Coast's best. But the Ella Roberts factor is always there. You've always got to consider that Ella Roberts could absolutely take over a game and kick 3 goals in 10 minutes and have 18 touches in a quarter and just absolutely tear you apart. But same could be said for some of Port Adelaide's star players, mainly Matilda Schultz. So it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. But I think this is one of the best games of the round. In my eyes, at least. I think this one and probably the Bombers Geelong game are the two most exciting games for me. Adelaide, Brisbane up there as well. So Sunday football is probably the best part of your weekend, on paper at least, in my eyes. Saturday wise, there's the wooden spoon battle. Bulldogs Carlton is a little bit tantalising for me, but yeah, Sunday football looks the better day of football this weekend. Jumping into my tips for round 4. We're up to round 4. Just ignore the fact that says round 3. We start off on Saturday. We're going Demons by 21 points over Richmond. We're going Giants by 3 points over the Suns. I'm convinced with Charlie Rowbottom out that the Giants should be too good there. Carlton by 13 points over the Bulldogs. I think Bulldogs will put up a really good fight though. Saturday night game, Hawthorn 10 points over St Kilda. If Hawthorn can get back to their best form, they can win this by a lot more than that. But at the moment, they're winning close games. So we're sticking with that. Sydney, should be way too strong for Fremantle based on what we saw last week. I've got them by 41. I can see Fremantle bouncing back a bit, but I'm a little bit gun-shy on them at the moment. Crows by 12 points over the Lions. That is a big game for both teams. Kangaroos by 50 over Collingwood. I just don't see a world where Collingwood can compete with this absolute whatever they are. The Kangaroos are just so far ahead of everyone. I've gone Bombers by 7 points over the Cats. I can see Cats winning this, though. It's just in my head that maybe the Cats will win. And Eagles by 5 points over Port Adelaide. A little bit of an upset there, I think, to finish the round. That's how I have it. Jump in the comments. Let me know who you have winning this week. That is everything you need to know for AFLW from round 3 and heading into round 4. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget we do 2 podcast episodes every single week. Monday is AFL Men's episode. Thursday is AFLW episode, which is where you are right now. We'll be back on Monday with another episode going live on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. Don't forget to check out the social medias, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, you name it, we got it. All Aussie Rules everywhere. And if you're not already on the YouTube channel, go subscribe there. We do plenty of content most days of the week at the moment. We're doing season reviews for every single AFL men's team as they get eliminated. So go find out about your favourite men's team from me. That's everything I have for you today. I am Jay. This is the All Aussie Rules Football Podcast, and I'll catch you on the next one.